All right, guys, this is the Rambler. And you know what? I've been meaning to make this video about Peacemaker Season 2 and how trash, how dookie, how caca, poop machine, the dookie maker, how horrible it is. It's just sad. The season 1 of Peacemaker was so excellent, so original. It's crazy how far it has gone downhill. You know, I was watching the first episode of season 2, and it's crazy. I got the same feeling from when I saw the second Spider-Man in theaters after Avengers Endgame came out. I'm telling you folks, I literally had a feeling that Marvel was never going to recover. And that is exactly how I feel when I watch Peacemaker season 2. It's just not good. Peacemaker season 1 was amazing, right? You had all these interesting characters. You had Peacemaker, right? You had Harcourt. You had Chase. You had Abadayo. You had Augie Smith. Peacemaker's father. You had what's that son of a bitch name? The tall guy, who's on the team. I forgot his name, Amanos or some bullshit like that. But they were amazing. They worked great as a team, and the humor was hilarious. It, might not necessarily be laugh out loud hilarious, but it was very subtle, very funny, right? I remember that scene with Peacemaker and his father. Peacemaker was trying to connect with his father, and his father was just blowing him off, right? Saying, basically, you're like a weak piece of shit. And then he talks about the fact that the guy he killed, not the guy he killed. I think he was talking about what the fuck is his name? Idris Elba's character, where he's afraid of rats, and Peacemaker's father starts cracking up, like literally laughing hard as shit. And when you look at that scene, it's so hilarious because you realize that the only reason he's laughing is because the fact that another person was in pain, right? The fact that another person was scared of rats is hilarious to him. Even though he was talking about how his dad locked up Idris Elba's character in a fucking attic or basement full of rats, and he was fucking finding that shit hilarious. Those are the type of moments that were amazing in Peacemaker, right? You had James Gunn's wife, Hawthorne. The whole stick of her being this crazy ass angry woman, willing to fight dudes, who just seems upset. That was original. It wasn't necessarily original because it's been done before, but it was original for that show. It created a great dynamic between her and Peacemaker, because Peacemaker was trying to change his ways, right? He just killed Rick Flag Jr., right? So of course he's feeling bad. He wants to change. He wants to be a better man. He thought he was dead, and he wasn't, right? And the whole Adrian Chase situation, Adrian Chase was amazing. Watching Arrow, Adrian Chase in that one was obviously a more serious, more complex character who, by the way, knocked it out the ballpark when it comes down to just, amazing acting. So it was kind of interesting to see him in a more funny type of mode, right? Abadeo, where the fuck her name is. She was, what's her name? Amanda Waller's daughter, right? And you're trying to figure out, why she's so different. It was so interesting. The judo master, the Asian guy, he was fucking hilarious at first. Now don't get me wrong, I don't know if I was laughing because of the accent, and maybe I'm low-key racist, but he was funny as shit, right? It was amazing. And the whole plot of them trying to defeat a species of butterflies was epic. I didn't think it was gonna work. I didn't think it was gonna roll together. I didn't see it really mixing, but by the end, you feel, right? You truly feel how amazing that show was. And now when I get to season 2, I'm just not loving it. First of all, let me tell you something. James Gunn I'm a big fan of James Gunn, but man, he fucked up that Superman movie. I don't give a shit what you motherfuckers say. He fucked that shit up. It made it into a joke. And now, for some reason, he can't, get the writers on board to write a good story in Peacemaker season 2. Because what are we fucking doing? Ask yourself, why do I give a fuck about the multiverse if they haven't explored it already? Right? See, you have to do a multiverse after you made several movies and several series. Right? Think about it. Avengers, the Marvel situation, it didn't work out with Kang in the whole multiverse. And not because he was on some fucking, beating ass, women ass shit. It's because it got done too much. And if you don't know how to write good, if you don't know how to make a good compelling story that brings the audience in, it's not going to work. So if it didn't work for a company that built years, decades of storytelling, why the fuck do you think it's going to work in Peacemaker season 2? Right? It doesn't make any sense. Why? Okay, first of all, I have no connection with Peacemaker's brother. No connection at all. I've only seen that one. They only show a couple of times, maybe even one or two. I think maybe one time where they showed the brother. No, I think it was probably about twice. They showed the brother getting killed by Peacemaker. Okay, that's sad. Children dying is always sad. That is true. But we didn't explore more of that. We just figured out, well, Peacemaker's dad was an asshole. By the way, his acting was amazing in season 1. Playing the fucking racist son of a bitch who fucking thinks his son is weak. Great stuff, right? You can't beat it. But why would I give a fuck about his older brother when I only seen him as a kid, right? There's no connection. There's no... I don't feel anything when I see his brother on screen. And that could be because the actor is not doing that great of a job. But I honestly think it's because they didn't explore it enough. All right, he killed his brother. That's fucked up. That's some fucked up shit. I get it. But we don't have enough storytelling to make me feel that, okay, well, Peacemaker went into another alternate universe. Oh, and there's his brother. And his dad's not a fucking racist. Well, you know what? I hate to fucking say this, but his dad was fucking interesting as a racist. Right? And, they have this whole theory online saying that not technically, but that there's a theory going on that the, world that Peacemaker is in, he's going back and forth, that is, the comic book movie where like the comic book, series where the Nazis basically take over and it's just a bunch of white people in that bitch. And I see that point. I guess that would be interesting because you have Peacemaker saying like, oh, I love this fucking place, right? And he's friends with a black woman, right? And then he comes to find out, oh, well, this place is actually racist. That would be a kind of interesting dynamic. But again, why would I give a fuck about that? You know what I give a fuck about? I give a fuck about Amanda Waller and the consequences that she went through, right? They saying she basically got kicked out of Argus. She's not the director anymore. It's Rick Flag Sr. I would love a story about how actually, I think this would have made a better story. Her taking the downfall of the shit, but still being promoted to like, a different area, like in the government, right? She becomes, big dog. They appreciate her service of taking the downfall and they promote her. And I would love to see how she would react to her own daughter selling her out. Amanda Waller's a cold ass bitch. She's cold, ice cold. I think it would be amazing to explore that dynamic. Would she turn on her daughter? Would she put a hit out on her daughter, right? Would she go that far? Because she has an idea. She has a plan in her mind, right? She has it all laid out. Would her daughter get in that way? That she would have to take her out. That would have been an interesting part, right? Maybe she recruits Peacemaker again, and he feels conflicted. Right? Like we got to do something more besides this whole multiverse. And I'm sorry, the whole Peacemaker and not Hawthorne, James Gunn wife, the whole dynamic is just forced. she's too much. Like in the second season, she's still fighting dudes. You know, going to the fucking bar drunk as fuck, still trying to pick fights with people. It's just too much. It was cool in season 1, but it's not cool anymore, right? And then also seeing her being the nice version of herself, that was kind of interesting. But again, I don't care, because you know why? Because at the end of the day, I know that obviously fucking Peacemaker is not going to stay in this universe. It wouldn't make any sense. He's obviously going to go back to his universe and try to fix shit. So why are we focusing on a multiverse story that we know that we're not going to give a shit about, maybe by season 3? And you know what bugs me? So James Gunn, he brought in Guy Gardner and brought in Hot Girl. These are, some OGs. These are some fucking major players in the DC comic books, right? So if we're going that route, even if it was like a little small cameo, why not invite some more, interesting characters? Like maybe the Question. Imagine Peacemaker working for Amanda Waller, and the Question literally comes up to him and is like, hey, motherfucker, like, I'm onto your ass. That would be interesting, right? Maybe have a character like Arrow show up. Maybe he's investigating Amanda Waller, Argus, and he realized, oh man, she's corrupt as shit. So now he's trying to take her down, right? That would be interesting, having a dynamic between, Arrow and Peacemaker. That would be interesting. Maybe Peacemaker, no, Amanda Waller, maybe she's so pissed at fucking Peacemaker, right? And pissed at her daughter that she, hires Rick Flag Senior, right? The one who's in the show, by the way, who's not that very interesting, hires him to kill Peacemaker. And Peacemaker has to escape, with the whole gang and everything. And, that would be an interesting dynamic, right? I'm sorry, I just don't care about the multiverse thing. It's too much. We're not in the story yet. We're just barely scratching the surface. They just had the Superman come out and Creature Commandos come out before that. Last time I checked, the Ultraman was a fucking clone of Superman. It wasn't no some multiverse bullshit. Right? Who knows the multiverse shit? Now I will say this. James Gunn, like I said, it's just like, what are we doing? Like Rick Flag, Senior, he's not interesting enough. I'm sorry. He's not. He's not interesting enough. I feel like I'm watching a lesser version of the character he played in Civil War. I don't sense a father who's so upset that he knows who killed his son. And I don't feel that connection. I'm sorry. He's just not selling it good. Right? Or, maybe, Peacemaker and Frank Sr., whatever the fuck his name is, Rick Flag Sr., maybe they team up together to take down Waller, right? That would be an interesting story. He teams up with the person who killed his fucking son. That would be hard, but to take down Waller, who is like literally absolutely evil, it would be for the greater good. Or shit, maybe, hey, I know this is going to be expensive. Maybe bring Idris Elba's ass in. Tell him, hey, motherfucker, we're going to have you hunt down Peacemaker because he had to escape. Or Peacemaker has to escape, hunt down, Idris Elba's character. And the reason why maybe he has to hunt him down is because, he did some crazy ass shit towards the end. He disobeyed an order and the Suicide Squad. So maybe she feels like she needs to take him down a notch. There's so many different things they could have just went with. And it's annoying because I'm thinking to myself, what are y'all fucking doing? What are we doing here? Right? And it's just too much. I hope they get it together. Now, I will say this. Season 2, episode 4 was kind of interesting. It made me laugh like how I was laughing in the season 1. But again, it's just, it's too much. It's just not enough. It's not hitting the right notes. It's not. So I'm hoping that they change things around, right? And make it more interesting. They have to. And also it could be the fact that we expect too much. Season 1, this motherfucker was fighting an alien race full of butterflies who control fucking humans and live amongst us. That's a crazy storyline. That's hard to come back from. You would have to amp up the stakes. And the only way you wouldn't have to amp up the stakes is if you made a decent storyline. Maybe if they brought it down a little bit, right? Peacemaker, fighting Amadiah, or the white guy who's like the nerdy guy in the group. That would be interesting. But they don't do that. They don't. And it's annoying. There's so many good storylines that we can do. And shit, James Gunn, if you want to include your fucking wife, whatever, that's cool. But don't make no fucking weird ass multiverse type shit. Because at the end of the day, the real version of her that Chris is used to, she's a fucking crazy ass bitch. She got issues. She loves to fight. She's clearly not mentally stable, but Chris still wants to fuck her. Which I think he did, but he keeps on wanting to. I mean, she's okay looking, but she's not that hot. It's not convincing. I love the friendship between Ambayo and everybody else. That's cool. Adrian, he's not as much in there, but he's still interesting. The funny Asian guy, he's fucking hilarious. But again, I don't know if I'm laughing is because of his accent or I genuinely find him hilarious. And I don't really have time to care. I just find that interesting. I said there's so many ways you can go with this show, and it's just disappointing that they decided to not go that route. They could have made something amazing. Obviously, they're amping up Peacemaker to be like part of the Justice League. He's gonna fucking do his dues, and they'll just finally let him in. They gotta do something. And I said, I hope, first of all, I hope I get in Drama C, but, here's what it is. All right, let's check the next one. Yeah, it's just too much. I hope we get to the point where people don't fucking judge you and shit. Yeah, I don't know. We gotta do something though. Fucking fix this shit. That's all I gotta say. Get back to the old good season 2, right? And stop fucking pulling my ass to the gates. That'd be amazing. Yeah, we gotta fix some things. Yeah. So, if I are you guys, we gotta protest and tell them to get back on track. All right, we gotta include helping out because this is getting ridiculous.